So today I'm gonna be removing this engine mount, which means I need to take down the exhaust. Means I need to remove these two screws here, this one here and here, and this one here, and one underneath here. But I can only remove these two screws if I remove the wheel, because this is a round area and the nut is at the back here. Then I have to disconnect the oxygen sensor from here. So it clips into here. There's a lock. You just press this until it clicks and you pull it out. So gotta disconnect this O2 sensor here, slowly get it out. And this entire exhaust from the turbocharger here, this entire exhaust comes down as a single unit. Then I have to release these two brackets. This engine mount here is a vacuum actuated or vacuum controlled engine mount. So there's a vacuum leak, the fault came out. It could be a coolant fault, or you could do a vacuum test on a PWIS, and on the PWIS it would come up with a vacuum leak, and if so, you have to check the vacuum system one by one. One of the worst parts of this car, this 718-982 model of Boxster or Cayman, is that the vacuum system is connected to the engine mounts and the transmission mounts in the back. So if there's any vacuum leak or coolant fault, you're gonna have to check the vacuum system, because the vacuum system is also somehow connected to the cooling system. Because this car cannot be bled normally, you have to use a PWIS and bleed it, because it has a self-bleeding system. Can't see it from here, but yeah. So this is how the exhaust looks like when it's removed from the car. And with the transmission jack, you can use it to slowly bring down the exhaust. It's not too difficult. It's just the catalytic converter at the turbocharger here. Not sure if you can see, but yeah, this is kind of how it looks like. Hopefully I have enough space to remove this engine mount here. Maybe I might have to remove the heat shield altogether. The O2 sensor is hanging around here. But yeah, other than that, it's not so bad. So the heat shield is loose now. Took out the clamp that was hooked into this for this mounting on the top, if we can see. And there are 4 screws, I think you have to remove, or more. Yeah. There's 2 here. There's one sneaky nut over here and one over here. This is loose, and then I think we have to remove some stuff here. I think on top here you have to remove the E screw, but that's how you open up the heat shield. So as you can see, this is how the heat shield covers the exhaust. It's like this. Just remove it. The heat shield's in the way of me taking out the engine mount. So as you can see, with the heat shield removed, there's a lot more space to work with. The water pump is here. Then there's a vacuum connection somewhere. I can find it, but I don't have a light with me. But the cooling system is connected to the vacuum. And just for your information, this turbocharger is actually VGT. On 982 models, all the turbochargers should be VGT. Yeah. So right now I don't have enough space, so I'm gonna remove this bracket over here. See if I have enough space. And if I still don't have enough space, then I have to remove the control arm, the lower control arm. I think the hardest part of this job is this screw right over here. It's an E screw, which means it's really hard to reach with an E spanner. And it's really tight once you've loosened the rest of the screws. But yeah, now the mounts kind of loose, this comes down and I can bring down the engine mount. Loosen this screw and this screw already, and beware that some of these screws are different sizes, so yeah, just make sure you remember or mark them. So in the end, I didn't really have enough room to take out the bracket, so I loosened this mounting on the side here because I still can't get that out and that screw is still there. So have to bring the engine just a little lower with a transmission jack. So I took out the E-screw. The E-screw that was supposed to fit into this hole, and now this entire thing is loose, so it's just a matter of time before I can get it out. And in the end, I still couldn't get it out, so I'm probably gonna have to remove the lower arm as well, lower control arm. So I've swung the bracket to the side because I can't remove this screw. The chassis is blocking the removal of this screw, so I've just opened it and swung it like this, and now I think I should have enough space to take out the engine mount. Hopefully, we just need to jack up the car a bit more. And with a slight jack, it's up, and I got the engine mount out. So the vacuum connection is up here. We found out that this engine mount was leaking vacuum, which was causing a fault. I don't know why Porsche does this, but it does make the car handle better at the expense of mechanics, I guess. And as you can see up there, there's actually a radiator fan. There's one on each side of the engine. This is a mid-engine car, and it's the self-bleeding system, which is connected to vacuums. As you can see, there's a lot of solenoid valves up there that control the vacuum. But yeah, finally we can put the new engine mount and call this a day. So this is the new engine mount, and in case you forgot, it goes in like this with the things, these things point facing towards the engine. Now that I've got the new engine mount back in place, the rest of the steps are just the reverse of taking stuff apart. So from taking down the exhaust to removing the engine mount, everything is reversed. If this information helped you, I hope it did help, because man, this is a pain in the ass.